right, welcome back to another episode of Scotts2Cents. I'm finally going to talk about the Royals here in 2022. I've refrained from doing so on a game-to-game basis, or a series-to-series, or even week-to-week, just because, quite frankly, it's too depressing to do that on a regular basis. This team is not good. Hesitant to use the word terrible, although it probably applies. It certainly applied yesterday as I'm making this video when they blew a 6-0 lead going into the 8th inning for the second consecutive Sunday. They didn't come back in this one to pull it out of their you-know-whats. Look, Mondesi's hurt. Mondesi's always hurt. This is not a surprise. Like, to see this guy go down to injury early in the year is not a surprise. And the fact that the Royals don't seem to recognize that or understand that that's going to happen, that's going to be part of every season, is Mondesi's injury. It's ridiculous. And they overvalue him anyway. They particularly overvalue him because he can't stay healthy. Salvi's hurt recently. That's probably a more significant impact on their recent play. But the reality remains, this is a team that is not getting nearly enough out of their talent. And I think that's different than just being really bad. And I'll sort of start with the pitching, right? Like, we've seen all of these guys have moments of brilliance. I mean, all of them. I mean, Barlow, Lynch, Kowar, Singer, Stamon, even Bubic, right? And of course, Keller has been very good this year. We see it. Like, they have outings, they have starts. Again, as we're at the quarter point, which is why I'm doing this for the Royals now, we're 40 games into the 2022 season, so we're 25%, 1/4 of the way through the season. We've seen it. Now, Singer has just had back-to-back outstanding outings. And I'll get back to that in just a minute. But the talent's there. Like, we've seen these guys have what the Royals keep telling us they have. So why aren't we seeing it on a more frequent basis? Why are these guys not more consistent? For me, that goes to coaching. It goes to development. It goes to philosophy. And I don't just mean the major league pitching coach, coaches, coaching staff. It's organizational. And that's kind of the theme of the point that I've gotten to now. This is not a failure of one guy. It's not a failure of Dayton Moore. It's not a failure of J.J. Piccolo. It's not a failure of this coach, that coach. It's a system-wide, flawed approach. Jacob Junis is an outstanding example. Now, maybe he would have blossomed in Kansas City finally. I couldn't get it together in Kansas City. Traded him. It's been outstanding, right? I mean, guys had a great year here in 2022. Now, maybe it's just one great year. Who knows? But there's been some articles written recently talking about this, that the Royals' failure is systematic, and it goes deep, and that is very, very concerning as a Royals fan, as a lifelong Royals fan. And the bottom line here is that 2015 was a long time ago now, right? That's 14 and 15 were great, and you have to give Dayton Moore a ton of credit for that. He timed it very well. He timed Moustakas and Hosmer hitting at the right time. He had Kane hit at the right time. He had Gordon hit at the right time. Had some guys with career years. Had Alcides Escobar outpunch his weight significantly for a couple of seasons. Guys like Omar Infante played over their heads for a while. There were a lot of other examples. The pitching was a little bit the same way. And to his credit, in 15, he went out and got the two best prospects that were out there. He went out and got Cueto, and he went out and got Zobrist. Now, it was pretty easy. Those were far and away the best. But he went out and did it, and not everybody did that. Not everybody was willing to do it. He definitely outbid other teams. He got it done, and it made the difference. So a lot of credit for what he did in 2015. No question about that. That doesn't give him a lifetime contract. It's ridiculous. And when Glass was still the owner, I didn't think it would ever change. My hope is that Sherman will make that change, and he'll make it very soon. And I appreciate the loyalty to an extent. But this is a results business. It's been 7 years. You have a phenomenal amount of talent in this organization, and it's being wasted. They're not getting it done. And so it isn't just the hitting coach that they finally fired a week ago. It's become much bigger than that, and sweeping changes need to be made, and it needs to start with the GM. And John Sherman came in and bought the team at a really bad time. COVID hit, and I get that, and that was terrible timing. I get that he wants to sit back and see what he has and learn and understand. And he said he prefers to stay out of day-to-day baseball operations, and that's a good thing. This isn't about day-to-day anymore. This is about the organization as a whole and problems at seemingly every level. So I mentioned Singer just had a couple of great starts. And I think Dayton Moore recently made the comments that if you're going to blame the pitching coaching staff for guys that are struggling, you have to give them credit for guys that are having success, which I'm not exactly sure who those are right now. Maybe he meant Singer. Maybe he meant Stalmont. Singer just had 2 amazing starts. 7 innings, phenomenal outings. Exactly what you expect from the guy. A real, actual major league starter going 7 innings in a game. Like, that's unheard of anymore. It's ridiculous the way baseball's changed. We can't get guys through 5, which is sort of the standard now. We don't have guys that can do that. We have guys struggling out of the first inning. Singer's been outstanding for 2 starts. It's 2 starts, whatever. I've always thought he had the highest upside of any of these young guys. But you know what just happened with Singer? He went to the minors. He didn't stay in the majors and get more advice from Cal Eldred. He went to the minors and figured it out. Now, again, it's 2 games. Maybe he hasn't figured it out. Maybe he just had 2 really good games. But he was dominant. He wasn't lucky. He didn't have a bunch of hard hit balls right at guys. He didn't escape a bunch of jams, although he did escape a few. First inning again. He was dominant. Their hitters looked like our hitters usually look. And I'll get to hitters in a minute. But that happened at the minor league level. Now, maybe it's Singer doing it himself. But let's take a look at that AAA pitching coach. What did he say to Singer? These guys had success at AAA. They get to the majors, they can't do it. Now, the leap from AAA to majors is huge. It's as big as any sports jump, right? There's no bigger jump than AAA to the majors. College to the NFL is big. It's not the same, right? So it takes time, it takes adjustments, and maybe Singer just figured it out. Maybe something snapped. But you have to take a look at the minor league coaching and say, these guys, it's time to promote these guys, right? We got to get rid of Eldred. I can't believe Cal Eldred is still part of this staff. And to me, the fact that he is as big of an indictment of Dayton Moore and J.J. Picola as anything else. Like, you cannot be loyal to a fault, right? And that happens time and time again with the Royals, not just with staff, but with players as well. And so let's talk about the offense now for a while. Like, the Royals are 14-26. They're 10.5 games out of first place. Now they're tied in last place. The only sort of saving grace of, hey, this is not terrible, is Detroit was worse. Well, now we've caught Detroit by sucking so much. Just a few days ago, a comment was made that we're not out of this race. Again, that to me is a fireable offense. If John Sherman's here, and obviously he did, like, I appreciate the optimism, but you're completely out of touch with your job and with baseball and the sport that you're in charge of. Mathematically, of course, you're not out of this race. Realistically, you're out of this race. I mean, first of all, you're in the Central, and you've played a lot of teams in the Central, and you are outmatched against the Twins. And frankly, the Twins in first place, and I think the White Sox may end up winning the division, but the Twins are the first place team right now, and they're so much better than the Royals, and they're the 6th or 7th best team in the American League. Like, make no mistake about it, the AL Central team is just going to get swept by whomever they play in the playoffs. Like, everybody makes the playoffs now, so maybe from that aspect, we're not out of the race. They keep adding teams to the playoffs so they can sell more wild card tickets and crap, and they can send out more, postseason tickets and put a bunch of money in the bank that then they just roll over to next year. And it's ridiculous. And so even if the Royals are not out of the race, which they are, they're just sacrificial lamb for the Yankees or the Angels. again, you can't compete in this division, and honestly, the leader of this division is seriously the sixth or seventh best team in baseball, right? That the Red Sox will figure it out. The Red Sox will get hot. The Red Sox will end up moving up. They're not as good as the Yankees. They're not as good as Toronto. They're not as good as the Angels. I mean, it's silly, right? It's silly to think the Royals are in this race. So you look at the lineup the Royals have. For the life of me, I can't figure out why Santana continues to play every day. Now, he's been a little bit better in the last couple of days, but he's been absolutely terrible for over a year. Like, it's not just this season. Like, when the Royals picked him up, I liked it. I liked it because they hopefully were going to flip him at the trade deadline. And he got off to a great start, and he was a professional hitter, right? He was which means taking walks, which nobody in the Royals organization has any concept of the value of that. It's ludicrous. They should see the inverse of it because their pitchers walk way too many guys and they see the detriment of it, but then somehow it doesn't compute. Like, wait a minute, our guys keep walking people and it kills us, but we don't want to take walks on offense. What? So, and now I got myself so frustrated, and this is why I didn't want to do Royals videos earlier, because I get frustrated and it makes me angry. So I'm talking about Santana. So he was actually one of the guys walking last year. Unfortunately, he went ice cold after the All-Star break. Couldn't hit a beach ball if it was on a tee, and they couldn't flip him because nobody wanted him at that point, right? So maybe they're trying to do that again this year. I don't know. Look, you got Nick Prado in the minors just crushing the ball. Carlos Santana is freaking blocking Nick Prado at this point. Again, there's yet another organizational failure. That is ludicrous. The concept that maybe Ryan O'Hearn is blocking him is ludicrous. Ryan O'Hearn's a nice little platoon player at best, and the Royals are having him bat cleanup on kind of a semi-regular basis. Give me a break. I mean, Hunter Dozier's a trickier one. I mean, he frustrates me so much. He swings at so many bad pitches, it's ridiculous. Every once in a while, he runs into one, right? And he's hot. He's had a decent start to the season. Maybe he was hurt too much of last year. Maybe it's not time to give up on Dozier just yet, but is Hunter Dozier blocking Nick Prado? Why is he not up here? It's ridiculous. The only reason MJ Melendez is up is because Cam got hurt, and then Salvi got hurt. Now, he was up for Cam, of course, but guy had 41 home runs, over 100 RBIs in the minor leagues, and he didn't make the team out of spring training. Come on. These guys have to play at the major league level. Sink or swim, because this 1,500 at-bats crap is BS. Like, get them up here. Find out if they've got what it takes, because you keep telling us that these guys are coming, that it's coming, and that it's happening. And I get that the Royals are a small market team, and they have to build from within. I understand that. But if this guy's a major league superstar, he needs to be in the major leagues and figuring it out. But he's not yet, right? They're leaving these guys in the minors forever. And for a while, the Royals went through a stretch where we're bringing these guys up, and we weren't bringing up Prado, we weren't bringing up Melendez, we weren't bringing up Witt Jr., and they were doing okay in the minors, good years in the minors. When Hosmer and Moustakas were in the minors, you couldn't get these guys out. They were absolutely destroying the baseball. They were destroying teams, right? And a lot of these Royals guys for years weren't really doing that. Now, finally, Bobby Witt Jr. was doing it, and now Nick Prado's doing it. And can we please get him up here? Like, I don't get why he's not up here. So, speaking of young guys, like, lots being made right now. The Royals have 4 rookies in their starting lineup. So maybe they're finally letting the young guys play, and they're being successful. Like, they're doing well individually. They're having some nice moments. Now, this team as a whole still cannot get a runner in from scoring position to save their life. And I maybe should have done the math. Maybe I will do the math and come back with another video, but their batting average as runners in scoring position is so pathetic. And if it were just a little bit higher, I wonder how different that record would be. Because they have runners out there. They've had opportunities. They consistently have opportunities to score runs, but they can't drive these guys in. It's such an indictment. And that's, again, to me, is not just about being a bad hitter. It's about approach. I mean, watching these guys try to pull everything is sickening. I mean, come on. Pitches on the outer half of the plate and down, and you're trying to yank it into the corner. Just slap it to the opposite field, my God. That, again, is approach. That's not an individual hitting coach. That's a team philosophy that has to be beaten out of players at the minor league level. They teach these guys to hit early. Let them pull everything they see, because frankly, they're not that good at hitters anyway. Slap it to the right field. That's your move. That's what you need to be. So this video is already much longer than I try to keep these videos, but it just, and there's just so many flaws with the Royals. The hitters have to start taking more pitches. The pitchers have to start throwing more strikes. And again, I mean, to me, that's confidence, right? Like, how many times have we seen Royals pitchers get up 0-2, 1-2, and then walk guys? And that's just inexcusable. And yet we don't make changes to the pitching coaching staff. Just ridiculous. The Royals are like, it's all about speed and defense. Well, you're kind of crappy at defense, and you don't really run that much because you can't get guys on base enough, right? Like, can't steal first base. You're not running as much as you used to. So this 70s baseball style of speed and defense is flawed to begin with. And even if you're the best at it, it doesn't matter that much, right? So, and you're not even great at it. And yet that's the way that you want to try to build your team. Obviously can't do a Royals video without talking about Bobby Witt Jr. Got off to a very slow start. Weather was brutal, I get that. He was under a lot of pressure, which again is part of the problem with the Royals, and they put him right in the 2-hole to start. I mean, that's just, my God. Somebody, when they saw the lineup with Bobby Witt Jr. making his major league debut in the most important spot in the lineup making his first debut, somebody in the organization has to say, no, Matheny, you can't do that. Hit him 6th, hit him 7th, let him get comfortable. Don't heap a world of pressure on this kid who already is feeling it. They've been talking about him and being the savior for years and years and years, and maybe he will be, and that's fantastic, and then he'll get to the point where we can't afford him and he'll leave. But you put him in the 2 spot. It's so stupid. It's just ridiculous. Why would they do that? Like, they waited forever to bring him up because he wasn't ready. And all of a sudden he's going to be the 2-hitter. Come on. It's just not smart at all. Look, you see it. He's a star in the making. Like, hopefully the Royals don't ruin him. Hopefully he can become a star despite the organization. Maybe some changes get made and he can even be better than that. Maybe they can figure out how to pay him. I don't know. Whit Merrifield got off to a horrible start. He's better lately. Look, Whit Merrifield was a 10-year minor league player for a reason, right? He had he had some amazing seasons in the last few years. And we never know this, and we never do know what the Royals were offered. So when we say they should have traded a guy, that's a little bit tough to just say as a blanket statement because you just don't know what we were offered. But if they were offered anything, and I'm sure the Royals overvalued him because that's what they do, they should have traded Merrifield. Like, capitalize on those 2 amazing seasons he had. He doesn't have that many left in him, and you're not ready to win. But that's part of the problem. The Royals don't recognize that they're not ready to win. They think they are, and they're just not. So either you're wrong about evaluating your talent, or you're right, and then you're just completely failing. So which is it? Neither one of those things are good. Both of them require a change, and it needs to happen. I look at Nicky Lopez. Like, Nicky Lopez was headed to the minors at the beginning of last year, and of course, again, Raul Mondesi got hurt, so Nicky Lopez, turn your car around, come back, had a nice little season, right? And he's a nice little player. He's a 9-hitter backup infielder on a real team. But for the Royals, he's supposedly, all of a sudden, even though he was sent to the minors to start the season 2 years ago, all of a sudden he's sort of this mainstay in the Royals lineup. It's ridiculous. He's not good enough. He's not a 2-hitter or a 1-hitter in a real lineup. When the Royals won the World Series, Alex Gordon was the 9-hitter. Right now, a little bit of that was to kind of do the top and bottom, and a little bit of it was that Escobar had no business being in the number 1 spot, except that it was a superstitious thing, and they believed in it, and I'm even okay with that, right? Even as ridiculous as that is, I'm okay with it. Alex Gordon was a 9-hitter on the World Series team. All right, so you think Nicky Lopez is a 2-hitter on a World Series team? Yeah, no, he's not. Sorry. So the young players are here now, despite the Royals. Maybe I don't know what's going to happen when Salvi comes back. Unfortunately, maybe he's a DH, which he will not like. He will not be happy with that role, and that's a problem. You move him to first, but now there's a legit reason to block Prado, and that's, you can't bring him up as a DH. Can't bring a player up and make him a DH immediately. He needs to play the field, and then you enter this problem what the Royals think they have, which is this whole platoon concept where everybody seems to be able to play everywhere. What that says to me is you don't have good enough players at any position. Mike Trout doesn't platoon. Aaron Judge doesn't platoon, right? I mean, these guys are not moving around different positions because they're super valuable. Fine. It's nice to have one of those guys. Not every single one of your guys needs to be that guy. What that means is you don't have guys that are good enough to say, this is my spot and nobody's taking it. Because there's somebody else that's just as mediocre as they are, ready to come up or ready to take their spot, because the really good guys aren't coming up for whatever reason. We've talked about that already. So I'll wrap it up. I knew this would end up turning into a rant, and I apologize that it really has been all over the place, but it's so frustrating because I do think I think the talent might be there, right? The pitching might be there. Witt Jr., Melendez, Prado, however you say it. I've heard it different ways by guys the guys that should know. I've heard them say it both ways, so who knows? He's not here, so nobody cares, I guess. Isbell maybe, and now that starts to seem like a legit lineup. I don't know. Michael A. Taylor's the answer in center field, but again, when I see Michael A. Taylor batting first or second, even fifth, it's not a championship caliber team. Michael Taylor is that 7, 8, 9 guy on a real quality team. You don't have to have 9 superstars to win a World Series. You don't have to have 5 stud starting pitchers. But you got to have more than the Royals do. And the problem is those guys have been trapped in the minors too long. It's time to get them up here. It's time to get them going. It's time to get them consistent. And I don't know if that's going to happen under Dave Moore. So I think it's absolutely time for a change. And I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. Not during the season. Our hope is that John Sherman sees one more season of this and is like, yeah, guys, sorry, we're done. Like, Dayton, I think it's time for you to retire. I'll offer you a nice retirement package. And they kind of tried to do that. They moved him from GM to president, but he's still calling too many of the shots. And Piccolo's a Dayton Moore guy, so it's not going to change, and especially as long as Dayton's there. Now, maybe you move Dayton out and see what JJ does differently. I don't know. It's time for change. It's overdue for change, and I don't see it coming. Opening day wasn't a sellout. That's the most pathetic opening day crowd I've seen in a long time. Now, the strike had a little bit something to do with that for sure. Don't blame the weather. I think we've all been to and seen brutal opening day weather conditions time and time again. Royals fans are over it. They're tough. They'll get out there. They weren't this year. Again, blame a little bit on the strike. A little bit of it is just indifference. Like, it's been 7 years. And the Royals caught lightning in a bottle a little bit, and that's what you have to do. Like, most teams do that. I mean, the Yankees win one every 4 years. They won 25% of all World Series, right? They're looking really, really good this year. The Dodgers have almost a $300 million payroll, right? That's how they do it. Because they develop these stars and they keep them, right? Most teams need to have a little bit of luck. They need to have a little bit of good timing, and that goes to the GM, that goes to the front office. And the Royals did that in 14 and 15. They hung around too long in 16 and 17.